This is a tough one, at least for me. I'm still learning how to live from within, not as an idea that came to me, not as a philosophy that came via a sage or a friend or a teacher, but as a practice. And it keeps asking more of me and somehow less of me than I expected for pretty much most of my life. Most of the time that I have spent walking in this body on this earth, my life was shaped from the outside in. I felt things, but I didn't really understand that I experienced them inside. I was shaped by what was needed from the outside, by what was expected from the outside, by what kept things moving and functioning and intact. And I think a part of me felt that that was safer to focus on the outside, to live from the outside. I learned how to respond quickly. I learned how to read the room in order to survive, in order to calm my nervous system, in order to prepare myself. I learned how to adapt very early on. And that lesson kept teaching me in all the ways. And somewhere in all of that, I wouldn't say that I lost the habit or the ability to listen inward first. I think that I was never shown how. And you'd think that this is something that, and I think that it is something that's innate, inherent. We are naturally supposed to, or programmed to, or guided, whatever word works, to listen and experience from within. But from such a young age, we aren't taught like the ABCs, someone sits down and tells us. We are taught through observation that the outside dictates the inside and that we live for the outside. And that's often really fast paced. You have to keep up so much speed with so much energy is utilized trying to live from the outside. Living from within is slower than I thought that it would be. It asks me, doesn't demand of me like the outside does. It doesn't demand, it doesn't force. It asks me. And that's why sometimes, especially as an adult, it's easier to ignore trying to live from the inside, is because it doesn't demand for the most part. It asks, often quietly. It asks me to pause before acting. And I have trouble with this. I have, I wouldn't say impulse control issues, but I learned early on to think less, act faster, because in order to stay safe, both physically and emotionally, you learn to think less, act fast. And so I'm still very much working on pausing before acting. And being a mom of three, and being a mom, especially of one that has a much higher capacity, or rather, a much higher need for that lesson of thinking, slowing, asking before acting. It's an even greater challenge on myself. But I'm also asked to notice sensation before explanation. See, my brain rushes for the explanation because it just wants to know why. It wants to get there quickly. Why? So that it can be safe. But in order to do that, to understand why, you have to slow. and notice that sensation. To feel before I decide what something means. That's again asking me to slow down, pause, which is tough for me. And some days this can feel incredibly grounding, living from within, slowing before I act or explain or decide a meaning. Some days it can feel like I'm standing on something solid inside myself, something that will wave with me but never leave me. And there are other days that it can feel completely and utterly disorienting. Like I stepped away from the maps of life that have been handed to me, the ones that I've relied on. I'm stepping away from those maps. And I've been doing that truly since I became a mom. And I started making decisions that were different than everyone else around me. And I'm still learning how to draw the new ones. They're incomplete. And maybe they'll never be complete in the span of this life. But I'm still drawing them. So it can be tough to not have that roadmap to follow. And I notice how often my body speaks before my mind is ready to listen. It talks to me, not physically with a voice, but it speaks to me in a heaviness in my chest or in the set of my shoulders, the tension somewhere. You know, it's a tightening, but there's often a softness, a quiet resistance, a subtle pull towards something that doesn't yet have a language because I haven't written it yet. And living from within means trusting those signals, even when they don't make sense externally. Even when the outside is telling you in all of its subtle and very non-subtle ways that it doesn't make sense. It means living from within means letting discomfort exist. Something I am still working on because I would rather run. But allowing that discomfort to exist without rushing to override it or run from it or cover it. Letting clarity arrive on its own timeline can be so freeing. And I'm still learning how not to abandon myself when things feel uncertain. Because uncertainty, I want to live and breathe consistency, but uncertainty is a fact of life. Uncertainty is every single day. You don't know if you'll wake up in the morning. You don't know if the person next to you that you love more than anything will wake up in the morning. And not because of some outward reason, but just because it's a blessing every day that they wake up and they breathe. You don't know what the day is going to bring for you. You can plan every last moment of every hour. But life does not play by our rules when we're living it from the outside. So I'm still learning that slowing down isn't the same as falling behind. I'm still learning that I don't have to know where something is going in order to stay with it. Living from within, one of the hardest things is that it doesn't give me immediate answers, but it does give me honesty. It gives me a relationship with myself that feels less about performance and more real. And I don't always get it right. I very often get it wrong. I still reach outward more often than I'd like, especially when I'm afraid of what I might find inside. But I'm learning to orient from sensation instead of urgency, from presence instead of pressure, and from truth instead of expectation. And it's not a destination. It's not a one-stop shop. It's an ongoing adjustment, a listening, a returning. And today, this is what living from within looks like for me. Not certainty, just willingness. I'm still learning, and I'm still here.